Welcome to Tom Rhodes Radio Smart Camp. Oh my God, did you think you were ever going to hear my voice again? Hello, friends, I'm back. Wow. How was your year so far? Most of January I spent alone in this apartment crying. What a fucking great start to the year. Yeah, I must be destined for great things this year to start out in such a sad and lonely hole. But got a lot of things to tell you. I want to thank um, my listeners, you wonderful people whose ears my words are penetrating at this moment. Um, the A few things have kept me going, and one of them is all the great messages that I've got from people. Let's start with Benny in Copenhagen, Denmark. Do you remember the guy that I criticized um, in December for dropping the money that he was given on Patreon from 10 to $5, and then he wrote me this wonderful message. Benny's now given $50 a month. So, man, don't I feel like an asshole? But Benny's written me some really nice, hey, Benny, thanks for the nice words that you sent me. One of the funniest things that he said was Benny had been in the Israeli army. And he said in the Israeli army, they have a saying that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. What does kill you makes your mom stronger. Hilarious. My mom, first of all, she thought that I needed counseling after that last episode that Ashna and I did together about the our last day together. And then my mom called me a couple weeks ago and thought I was suicidal. Why would, you know, there's too much good life left, and there's too many jokes and shows. It's just funny my mom would even think that, because that's so far from, no matter how crushed and defeated I would ever feel, that wouldn't be an option, you know. Maybe if I had cancer and I was in my 60s or 70s. I don't know. Somebody's going to bring that back up to me later if I ever get cancer. Whatever. I went to Mexico for my birthday. That was an unexpected, nice trip. And the good thing about being sober was, let me tell you, I went to Tulum, and Tulum, Mexico I'd been there 3 times before, and I always stayed at the beach. I always like to do it the rich guy way. If you work so hard, why not treat yourself when you go on vacation? But this was a last minute trip. My friend Lucy Pole was going down there with a friend, and she knew I was in the toilet, and she said, "Why don't you come down to Mexico?" So I booked a last minute trip, and they had an Airbnb downtown Tulum at a place called the Grand Balam Plaza. And it was cool, man, to stay where the local Mexican people stay, downtown Tulum. It was a short walk to Avenida Tulum, the main boulevard that had all the nice restaurants, and then we rented bikes and we could ride them to the beach. And on my birthday, I rented a car. Oh, I got to tell you. So this guy that runs it's an Airbnb, but the rooms were like hotel rooms, which was nice. Sometimes with Airbnb, you never know what you're going to get. But this kid was a total lunatic. Still is. He's from Spain, España, and he's having the time of his life running this place. So while we were there, he's a partier, is what I'm telling you. But he treated us like kings, and there was some music festival going on in Tulum. So there was a lot of drugged out Americans walking around Tulum, which will come up in a minute in this story. On the morning of my birthday, I woke up and I go upstairs on the roof of the Grand Balam Plaza. That's the name of the Airbnb. And my boy, the Spanish guy, was up there with two young Argentinian women that he had met at this dance festival. And they had just gotten in. And I was having coffee, and they were just coming in from a big night out. But I rented a car, and then we drove to Coba and climbed the Mayan temple there. You can't climb the temple at Chichen Itza anymore, but you can climb the temple at Coba. And then we went to a couple of cenotes that my boy, the Spaniard, knew about. The cenotes, if you don't know what they are, they're not all of them are underground, but the coolest ones are like in underground caves, and it's fresh water, like rivers. They're all connected, and that's the one thing I wanted to do on my birthday was swim in an underground cenote. And we swim in a couple of those. That was awesome. We come back, and my boy, he had arranged for us to get massages. So at his expense for my birthday. And he and I went first, and then Lucy and her friend went second. And I was hungry after I got massaged, and I thought, I'm going to walk up to the main road and get massaged. So we're like 3 or 4 blocks from the main street, and then you walk down a street to a side street to go up to the main street. So as I'm crossing over this side street, I see out of the corner of my eye, my peripheral vision, the Mexican cops all drive these Ford F-150 trucks. And this guy, I can see him out of my peripheral vision. They're crossing the street at the same time I am. And then I'm walking up this road, and they're coming straight at me. And this cop, totally fucking with me, pulled up the grill of the Ford F-150 right up to my chest. Like at a pretty quick velocity this truck was traveling. And stopped like immediately right on my chest. It was fucking, got the blood pumping, shall we say. But I was completely sober, and I knew that these cops were they're obviously, looking to shake somebody down. So, I'm from a military family. My cousin was a cop. When you deal with cops, you know it. I've said it 1,000 times. Yes, sir, no, sir. If you don't do that, cops are like children. You're fucked unless you're yes sir, no sir to these people. So, mean cop number 1 steps out of the passenger seat, and I looked him in the eye and I said, "Hola, señor." And he starts saying something in Spanish, and I said, "Un poquito habla español." And then I think he's asking me where I'm staying, so I point over in the direction I just came from, and I said, "Sí, apartmento. And then mean cop number 2 gets out of the driver's seat, and he walks around the front of the pickup, and I look him in the eye as he's coming around the front of the truck, and I said, "Hola, señor." And then, trying to communicate with these 2 guys, and then a friendlier, shorter cop stepped out of the back on the left side where we're standing, and I looked him in the eye, and I said, "Hola, señor. Yo soy Tom. Mucho gusto." And I stuck my hand out, and I shook his hand. And I guess they thought that he spoke better English, or that he spoke some kind of English, because now he's taking charge and trying to communicate with me. So he's asking me, drogas, marijuana, cocaine. He's asking me if I have anything. I said, "No, señor. Mi no bebo, no fumar, mi 5 años sober." And then he looked at the other guys, said something in Spanish like, "Fuck it, this guy doesn't have anything." And then they all got into the truck and they drove off. But it was a 2 minutes where, I stayed cool. It was my birthday. I was having a good day. I had just been massaged for free. And I was very relaxed. So I fully expected to have to give these guys everything that was in me pockets, but I lucked out, and that was a pretty nice birthday gift. So what? I was only there for what, 3 days, 4 days. Um, Mexico is magic. I hate all of the racism in the United States against Mexican people, and aside from some obvious problems with corruption, Mexican culture is very sexy. I love everything about it, and um, you know, guacamole at every meal. Um, Speaking of which, today El Chapo Guzman, Joaquin, was just found guilty. Have you been following that trial? I've been enjoying um, reading about that trial, and he had a diamond encrusted pistol. He had a naked escape. The federales had closed in on him, and he lifted a bathtub and had to run out naked. There was another story where he murdered a guy, a rival, buried him alive. Another guy testified that Guzman liked to have sex with teenage girls, and he called them his vitamins. He was taking his vitamins. So, it's funny, like, to read the press reports about this, that, of course, 20, 40, 50 other people have already taken this guy's place. But it was interesting that, they're explaining all these tunnels and how most of the drugs came in and still come into the United States through proper ports. And the tunnels that go underneath into from Juarez to El Paso, from Tijuana into San Diego, and Trump, the urine pawn, Putin's urine pawn, is still needs this vanity project of his Mexican border wall. It makes no sense when, right in New York City, we've had all this testimony that, people are not walking the drugs across the border. They're coming in on ships in the ports or through these elaborate tunnel systems like the one that El Chapo used to escape from the Mexican prison in 2014. So it's kind of stupid. I was at the Great Wall of China, which was built to keep the Mongolians out, and it didn't work. It was a failure. It didn't keep the Mongolians out. Anyway, Trump shut down the government. I don't know. The world being so fucked up, and me being emotionally in the toilet, I don't know. Things seem like they are the way they should be. So I had a really sad January, and I'm going to read a few messages. I don't know how long I'm going to make this podcast. I just wanted everybody to know I'm alive, hear my voice, and I wanted to say thank you to all the people that reached out to me. My dear old friend from high school, actually I've known her since middle school, Kim Oliva, her and her fiance Russ, they actually came to see me in Paris when I thought I was going to do my hour special in Paris. Wonderful people. They asked me to marry them this past Saturday. So that's kind of funny. Who better to marry you than a comedian? Hey, what does this wedding need? Dick jokes. And then I think it's kind of funny to ask somebody who's getting divorced to marry you. If it was a movie, I would have been tempted to like talk them out of it. I had written some nice, words for them, and they didn't want a religious thing. I got a really good laugh in the during the ceremony when I said, and with the power granted to me by a few clicks on the internet, I now pronounce you man and wife. And the crowd laughed at my few clicks on the internet line. um, the the thing I wanted to tell you was, so I'm standing there and I wanted to say, the cynical me, I bit my lip. They're good friends of mine. I wanted, and it was a beautiful wedding. It really, really, truly was. And, it made me think about my wedding with Ashna and at my sister's hospital bedside, right as she's dying, and all these images of things I felt went wrong in the marriage that were my fault or whatever. It's like the Zapruder film with the Kennedy assassination. I guess I will be reviewing the footage of my marriage in my own brain to decide, where it went wrong, how it went wrong for the rest of my life. But I wanted to say to stop the wedding if it had been a movie, and said, like, I don't think you should be doing this. 7 years from now, you're going to hate each other's guts. You're going to feel more like siblings than lovers. You're going to be farting in front of each other, and you're going to be irritated by each other. And you might love each other now, but 10 years from now, you're going to be really irritated by, the way that they squeeze the toothpaste or leave the cap off the toothpaste or bitch at you to clean the toilet or whatever. So, one thing that's helped me, the main thing that's helped me is the messages from my supporters and listeners, and I'm going to read a couple of those in a minute. But another thing that's helped me is reading Hafiz. I got back into, right now I'm actually reading Groucho Marx. I'm reading Groucho and Me, which is Groucho Marx's autobiography. And next up, I'm going to read Memoirs of a Mangy Lover. So Groucho Marx is cheering me up now. But in January, I read Hafiz. The Gift is a great book. And then a very thin book that I know you've heard me talk about before, and it's called I Heard God Laughing. And Hafiz was a Persian Sufi mystic poet from Shiraz, Iran. And his whole thing was the three most important elements in life, according to Hafiz, is love, laughter, and dancing. And this book is called I Heard God Laughing. And here he says, God's laughter. Hafiz tells us that the beloved's nature is pure joy. The closer we come to him, the more we are able to hear and feel God's laughter. The rhythm of his laughter is the music of the dance of life. That music is the essence of love, and it is the radiant core of every song of Hafiz. I am happy even before I have a reason, Hafiz says. So this is I mentioned that in the nuptials or whatever, it's funny, the word solemnizing, to make something sacred, anyway, I was ordained on, what is the Church of Universal Light, something like that. And then on the wedding certificate, it said the solemnizer, which is a little too close to sodomizer, but I was the solemnizer. I'm probably not pronouncing it right, but, aren't we just glad we have a podcast? So I mentioned that, Hafiz felt that the three most important elements in life were love, laughter, and dancing. And I want to bless this marriage with love, laughter, and dancing with the words of Hafiz. And I read this poem, and it's called Laughter. What is laughter? What is laughter? It is God waking up. Oh, it is God waking up. It is the sun poking its sweet head out from behind a cloud you have been carrying too long, veiling your eyes and heart. It is light breaking ground for a great structure. That is your real body called truth. It is happiness applauding itself and then taking flight to embrace everyone and everything in this world. Laughter is the pole star, held in the sky by our beloved, who eternally says, "Yes, dear ones, come this way. Come this way towards me and love. Come with tender mouths moving, and your beautiful tongues conducting songs, and with your movements, your magic movements, of hands and feet and glands and cells, dancing. Know that to God's eye, all movement is a wondrous language, and music, such exquisite wild music. Oh, what is laughter, Hafiz? What is this precious love and laughter budding in our hearts? It is the glorious sound of a soul waking up." Motherfucker. That's Hafiz, baby. And he was, when there's like a shrine for him in Shiraz, Iran. I'd love to go, but I'll probably never go to Iran in my life. And different hardline Muslim clerics through the years have banned his works. Even while he was still alive, he had to flee Iran at one point. But total badass. Okay, so I want to read a few of the messages that really helped me. Oh, no. I forgot. Here's the whole reason I was telling you the wedding story. So it was a lovely wedding at this old place very close to downtown Los Angeles. All the details. It was a really happy occasion, but seeing all that happiness, thinking of a marriage beginning as mine is ending, and then hearing all these love songs was fucking killing me. So, I bit my lip. I gave my friends a beautiful ceremony, I believe. I think I wrote some really nice words. I won't bore you with them. But when it was time to go, I ordered an Uber, and I got into an Uber going home. And you have to be careful who you open up to when you're going through a hard time. So I get into the Uber, and the guy's like, "Hey man, how's your night?" And I said, I'm just coming from a friend's wedding, and it was a very beautiful wedding, but I'm going through a divorce right now. We filed the papers, and it's not finalized, but I'm about to be divorced. And seeing all of this happiness and hearing all of these love songs was killing me. And then the Uber driver says to me, "I can relate to you getting divorced because my cat just died." And then he's telling me how he found his dead cat, and then he picked the dead cat up, and he was holding it, and he's crying. He's telling me about how fucking shattered he was while he cried and held his dead cat. And I just said, "Hey, at least you got to hold something, motherfucker." I'm sitting here crying by myself. This guy's got a dead cat to comfort him. So it's all perspective. Right, Benny in Copenhagen? Right, Phyllis in Dallas? Let's talk about Phyllis in Dallas. Phyllis wrote me this. She became a Golden Buddha Patreon. Phyllis in Dallas writes me, "I saw you in Dallas in November, a few days after the midterm elections. I'd spent a few months knocking on doors and phone banking for Beto O'Rourke's campaign to unseat Ted Cruz. After the election loss, I didn't know how to recover. I'm sober, gave up alcohol and drugs 7 years ago. Bravo, Phyllis. I try not to use food to comfort me, so to cope, I said, fuck it. I'll go to a free comedy show at my local improv comedy club. You were the headliner. It was a small, strange crowd. I sat in the front row next to another woman, randomly seated together, though we were total strangers. She and I had a great conversation about how we loved comedy and wished we had the courage to do an open mic night set. We encouraged each other to do it. I'm still waiting for that courage to kick in, though. I wished I would have given you a better answer when you asked where I was from during your set. What I should have said was I moved to Dallas from Seattle. After 2 dead ex-husbands, it was time to move on. I feel like that would have given you a few minutes of material to work with. I'm sorry I was so lame. In December, I listened to your podcast about Jerusalem and signed up as a Patreon. I feel like I owe you for that free show in Dallas, even though you must have felt pretty down given your relationship situation. You powered through that night with a set that made me laugh and feel better. Now I'm listening to your album on Amazon Music, so you got me supporting that app also. My brain thanks you. I thank you. Maybe this year I'll get the courage to do an open mic night. I'm going to be 60 in May. Yep, I'm saying that out loud. Who starts a comedy career at 60? Especially a woman. Whatever. It has taken living through 2 dead ex-husbands and raising a daughter through a lot of dysfunction to finally say, fuck it. This is me. This is who I am. I love to write. I like to laugh and make other people laugh. We'll see where it goes. Thank you for doing what you do, and have a great 2019. Phyllis, this message, I remember you explicitly. And it was a strange, small audience. And I remember you sitting there. And I remember talking to you after the show. One of the main reasons I remember this show is because right before I went to Dallas to do the improv, I had been hopeful and trying to save my marriage and, was having these long talks with Ashna and hopeful that we could turn it around. But right before I went to Dallas is when Ashna told me she wanted to stand by her decision and get divorced. So I was all kinds of fucked up and emotionally in the toilet. And I remember it's kind of like right now, like being on stage makes me really happy. It's my thing. It's all I've ever had in life. And I guess I've put comedy above everything in my life. So I guess, comedy's my wife or my true love. But I remember talking to you after the show. So I remember I was like in a heartbroken state for those shows, and I remember that was a strange little audience. And I remember talking to you after the show, and you were, rightfully feeling shitty after the human turd that is named Ted Cruz defeated Beto O'Rourke. And I thanked you then. I thank you now for whatever you did for Beto O'Rourke's campaign. I think Beto is one of the few hopes and glimmering jewels that are in the Democratic Party right now. And how could anybody vote for Ted Cruz after Trump said that his father was involved on the Kennedy assassination and all Ted Cruz is definitely one of the biggest lying human turd self-interest people in elected in our elected democracy anywhere. And I know Texas is a right-wing Republican place, but goddamn, when does morality and right and wrong ever come into play? So I really, for Beto to become president in the future, I was hopeful that he would beat Ted Cruz. And even though I didn't work on the election, I was disheartened by that outcome. Turning 60 in May, Phyllis, there's no better feeling than standing on stage. And when you start, it's terrifying for everybody. And it's humiliating and it's failure. But the adrenaline rush is better than any drug. And then you get off and you're angry because you failed or you were humiliated or, some asshole at the open mic night did a better job than you. And you know that they're a shitty person. And you saw them say, foul things to a waitress or whatever. It's just so many things in life that it takes to motivate you. Like, I don't know if I mentioned this, but one thing that I've been doing uh, since Ashna left me is I've been working out like a motherfucker. I read this years ago, or I heard Oprah say it. I can't. It's hard to distinguish what you learn in books and what we learned from Oprah. Now that we're 10 years without her, or whatever it is, but I heard the best thing you could ever do in a breakup is to exercise and be healthy. So I've been eating salads, I've been eating fish, I've been eating chicken, I've been eating lots of fruit, and I got a gym in the building, and I've been hitting the gym every day, and it's great. And so the notes for the album is done. I'm just waiting for the guy who's doing the artwork. He's got a company called was it Monkeys versus Robots, and he's an English guy, but he's based in Spain. I love all the international connections to people and listen to the podcast or help me in my career and life. That's the nice thing about traveling the world. But I love the album cover. It's almost done. And I've been sitting here working on my book that's going to go with, it's basically, the album is 25 different cities around the world. So the book is each one of these different cities around the world, my personal relationship to the city, like stories, and my jokes about each city, and then knowledge nuggets about each city, the most important pieces of information you should know about those places. So I'm almost done with the first draft. So it's been cold. I mean, it's hard to say it's cold in Los Angeles, but it's been in the 40s, which is cold for me. And it's been raining like a motherfucker. So I've been exercising every day and working on this book, and then doing sets at the Comedy Store and the Improv and the Venice Underground. And that's basically been my winter, getting through this shit. So, and these messages that I've got from you beautiful human beings who really love me. So Phyllis, thanks for supporting the podcast. I fully support you, darling. And, it seems like Beto is still being regarded as a quality human being that might have a good chance. I thought him losing that election would knock him out of any potential running for president, but apparently I'm still reading a lot of great things about him. So keep your chin up, Phyllis, and thanks for supporting me and get on stage, write about your life. It's funny. And then I got this wonderful message from Woody in London. Woody's one of the main. I've known that I've had this supporter in London. I guess from the beginning, when I first set up the Patreon thing, and I always thought, man, it makes me really happy to know that I have a listener in London. So, Woody, I hope you don't mind if I read this. I've tried several times to write this email, but I've just listened to your latest podcast and realized that I was starting to look like some creepy voyeur stalker, so I'd better get on with it. As you know, I haven't written to you before, but just wanted to write and say how sorry I am to hear about you and Ashna. I've been going through a marriage breakup myself, and while I'm aware that no two relationships are exactly the same, and I'm certainly not going to try and offer you any advice, I wanted to let you know that I really feel for you both, and I'm thinking of you. As I said, I have made a start on this email a few times since getting your Berlin postcard, but I was really reminded of how fragile and raw I often felt around the time it was all happening for me, and I was worried that I might say something that might be taken the wrong way or upset you even more in some way. So, it really means a lot to me that that you wrote me finally, Woody, but then for you to tell me the troubles that you're going through, it's weird how humans are, like the fact that knowing that when I meet people and they're divorced, I'll like go, oh, and what was that like for you? Like now I'm like all interested in divorced people and people who are having troubles, if it makes any sense, or who have been through the shit, shall we say? So my wife and I were there. So Woody continues. That was a detour on my part. My wife and I were together for nearly 20 years altogether, and we have 2 kids. Oof. So it's been pretty difficult at times. It came as a huge shock to me. I didn't want to get divorced, and I actually lost my job around the same time. So it's been a long and often painful past few years. And I have to admit, it's taken me a long time to get back on my feet. Fuck. And that is exactly how I feel. Who knows when I'm going to feel just regular happiness again. I think that fucking paragraph alone, Woody, means the world to me. I'm sorry that you've gone through all this shit, but I'm happy to know more about you than, oh, there's a person in London who supports me, knowing that you have been through this stuff. You're more of a Buddha in this area than I am. Why don't I shut the fuck up and keep reading? I'm a graphic designer, so was able to begin to freelance, and I discovered your podcast around that time. I've actually been meaning to write and thank you for a while now, because you and your podcast, and more recently your postcards, have really helped pull me through the toughest times. The constant positivity, goodwill, and humor have been a consistent source of optimism and inspiration for me, and it quickly became a favorite podcast, and I really looked forward to getting new episode notifications. And that sentence right there is why I am recording today, ladies and gentlemen. I've been feeling too shitty to... you wouldn't have wanted me to record a podcast 2 weeks ago. I was fucking joyless. But these messages that I've got from everybody have made me think I got to communicate with my people, and it's the Patreon supporters. I've said it time and again. Are the only reason I keep putting out this podcast. But we can all thank Woody in London for that one sentence. When I read that one sentence, that made me for the past week. I've been thinking, and I thought, well, I'll do it after Kim's wedding. That'll be the perfect time to do it. The constant positivity, goodwill, and humor have been a consistent source of optimism and inspiration for me. And it quickly became a favorite podcast, and I really looked forward to getting new episode notifications. Pow! I love the variety of the podcasts. How from one episode to the next it might be a guest interview, book roulette, movie reviews, or more intelligent and thought-provoking conversation and discussion with Ashna. The podcast has introduced me to so many new ideas, comedians, films, points of view, knowledge nuggets, musical artists, and songs, as well as making me laugh and at times cry. I reached a point where I decided that as soon as I felt I could afford it, I would start showing my support on Patreon and begin paying you back for all the support and inspiration you have given me. And since I started the Patreon support, it's also been brilliant getting your ever-friendly, funny, and positive postcards, which do a lot to offset the demoralizing dry bills and paperwork that usually have my name on at the top, on at the flat I've moved into. I really wanted to thank you for that, Tom, and explain why it never even crossed my mind to stop my support. I hope you and Ashna are able to continue to stay on good terms. In our case, we're more obliged to stay on good terms because of the kids. They're only 10 and 7. Wow. So we've got a long way to go. But we also both have divorced parents, so we're aware of how that can feel for a child. Man, me too. So after so long together, there are also going to be certain amount of respect, and ultimately, it's an opportunity and responsibility to set our kids a positive example of relationships. That's fucking huge. My parents were divorced also. My parents hated each other's guts for the rest of their lives. It was a bummer. And I think that, I've said it, the people who support me have cool jobs, super intelligent people. And like that was what Ashna and I were trying to do on that last episode, to set a positive example of being able to break up on good terms. But what Woody's saying here about setting that example for his children is way more important than that, because what his kids are going to see is how they're going to operate for the rest of their lives. So, most people who get divorced, it's ugliness and they hate each other's guts. And fuck, even if you're faking it and you don't mean it, that's really huge. We also both have divorced parents, so we're very aware of how that can feel for a child. After so long together, there's also going to be a certain amount of respect, and ultimately, it's an opportunity and responsibility to set our kids a positive example of relationships, how to treat people, how to behave, and I'm pretty sure I've learned a lot from that along the way too. I'm really happy to hear that you both obviously feel the same way and are being so supportive and respectful toward each other. Having said all that, I do realize that there are likely to be times when you may not feel like sending postcards or recording podcasts while you have so much on your mind, though. So please don't feel pressure to. I can wait, as I'm sure everyone else can, and it's great to hear you've made so much support that it's great to hear that you've had so much support and goodwill. Wow. That's so nice. The guy is writing me saying, don't feel like don't put out an episode for me. I can wait. I know you're going through some shit. I'm glad you appreciate the postcards that I've sent. The Golden Buddhas get a postcard from me once a month. Just these words that everybody has sent me. Just knowing that people care about me it's more valuable than money, really. And let's see, there's a couple other things I wanted to read you before we wrap it up. Oh, Michael, I'm coming to London. I think I mentioned this on a postcard that I sent you, but I will be in England for all of May and June. I'm going to be opening for Reginald D. Hunter. He's doing this tour. But we're going to be staying in London the whole time, and I'm going to be doing that comedy festival I did in Portugal. What was that? Fucking October? I can't even remember. There was a British comedian on the thing, and he owns a comedy club in Camden Town called the Bill Murray Comedy Club. So I'm going to be headlining and doing solo shows at the Bill Murray Comedy Club in Camden Town in London, May 14th, it's a Tuesday, and June 4th, also a Tuesday, at the Bill Murray Comedy Club in London. Hey, why don't we read out some dates before I read on? I'm staying here. God, it's funny, I had such an arduous schedule I needed to get through. I kept telling Ashna, all I got to do is get to Christmas, and then I got 2 months off. And then now these 2 months I'm home finally, and I'm alone in my apartment. But I think this album will be one of the greatest comedy albums of all time. I know you're going to love it. And my book, I think it's also a lifetime achievement that you're going to love. So here we go. March 13 through 16, I'm at Side Splitters in Tampa. March 21 through 23, I'm at Comedy Off Broadway in Lexington, Kentucky. March 27 through 30, I'm at the Punchline in San Francisco. April 1st through the 7th, I am in New York City at the Comedy Cellar and the Comedy Underground. And I'll be going on the Sirius XM comedy shows like the Bennington Show. I'll be on April 1st to promote. That's the official release of my album is April 1st. April 11th through 14th, I am at Harvey's in Portland. April 22nd through 28th, I am at the Laugh Factory in Las Vegas. Then May and June is the Reg Tour, and then that's it for now. Want to read all the dates? Okay, so let's see. What's my boy? Oh shit. Remember this? Okay, I gotta find. All right, I gotta go to Twitter. Another Golden Buddha supporter, a guy who I've become great friends with, is Mark in the San Francisco Bay Area. There we go. This message really meant a lot to me. I just want you to be happy again. You sounded pretty good on the podcast. It is amazing that you have had such a great career and continue to be successful and relevant today. Not many people have the longevity in this business that you have had. Obviously, that comes with a price, which has been your personal life. Bottom line, though, if they start a Hall of Fame for stand-up comedians, I think you are definitely in. You are who you are, Tom. One of the all-time greats. And a really nice guy on top of that. Now's the time to stop and reflect and decide what you want the rest of your life to look like. Oh yeah, definitely don't get some crazy chick pregnant. My wife and I listened to the podcast together, and that got a chuckle out of both of us. Take care, Mark. Yeah, man, that message meant the world to me. Mark comes to see me every time I'm in San Francisco, and I squeeze the shit out of that guy because I love him. Okay, and then there's one more message. I gotta find this motherfucker on Facebook. Okay, this might take a minute. Bear with me. How's your winter going? It's fucking cold out there everywhere. Seattle got hit by snow. Amsterdam got snow. I'm so jealous. When I lived in Amsterdam, I wanted those canals to freeze so I could go skating on the canals. And it never happened. Jeff, here we go. Let me find this. Jeff, there we go. And then also, and this is my old friend Jeff, who lives in Sacramento. Is one of my oldest fans, who also became a great friend. That's the story with all my fans. They all become friends. Okay, because he mentions this thing. This is from the Jerusalem episode. So I'm listening to your recap of the Jerusalem trip, and you just talked about the candlelight procession you and your mom were a part of. You said that there were times when other people's candles would blow out, but yours kept burning. So they would lean over and light their candles with your flame. As you said that, I realized it's a perfect analogy for your life. You, my friend, are the keeper of the flame. You've made it your profession to bring joy into the lives of the rest of us. And when we're feeling burnt out, we come to you and we lean into you, and you let us touch the wonderful humor that's inside of you. And you light us. See, that's what January was like for me. Just fucking anything could make me cry. Shit, I was in a good mood. That's funny how that hit me. And when we're feeling burnt out, we come to you and we lean into you. And you let us touch the wonderful humor that's inside of you. And you light us, and we laugh, and we're warm and bright again. You've got an amazing gift, dude. Just wanted to let you know. Big hugs, be well. Okay, fuck, I love that guy. Okay, so those are the messages that have been oxygen to me. And it's funny. I had this thought, like, I'm from there's the baby boomers, and then there's the Generation X, and I'm Generation X, and I always thought that was a stupid name, like clinical scientific Generation X. Like they couldn't think of a good name, so they just branded you an X. But um, now I'm an ex drinker, ex cigarette smoker, ex hard drug user, and now I'm about to be an ex husband. Ugh, makes me want to fucking vomit. Um, that Generation X is starting to make a little more sense to me. But that was a beautiful message about me being the keeper of the flame. Okay, I'm going to read you one last thing here. And man, this came quick. Usul. The fucking Usul. Wait till you hear what this fucking guy says. Here we go. Okay, so we've had a lot of positivity, and I'm going to try to keep the episodes coming once a week. I'm not going to go long periods anymore, and I think it's good for me too to record the podcast, and then just to make notes about what I want to talk about, and keep bringing joy and laughter into your life when your candle blows out. So I know you're going to be mildly outraged by this, but I just want to the audacity of this message. I want to read to you. So I got this message yesterday. Okay, I got this email yesterday, and I was thinking, well, how should I answer that? But I had planned on writing the guy back. I won't say his last name, but his first name is Usul. Hello, my name is Usul. I am a professional comedy writer in Turkey. I've been writing comedy scripts and stand-up materials for 8 years. I wrote 3 stand-up scripts, for 2 famous stand-up comedians in Turkey. I have worked in newspapers, magazines in my country as a comedy writer for 10 years. Now I am writing stand-up scripts in English. I believe that my stand-up scripts are much, much better than famous stand-up comedians' texts and jokes. I trust myself and my texts, but I don't know how things work there. If I send you my stand-up text sample, could you help me about how I can use them? Believe me, you will not regret. If you do not need comedy materials, you may forward me to someone else. If you answer my email and help me, you will make me very happy. Thank you. Best regards, Usul. Okay, so less than 24 hours later, I get this message from Usul in Turkey. Hi again. I sent you an email and I wanted to help me, but you just ignored my email and did not answer. Maybe you have prejudice for Turkish people. I know that you are too busy and already have famous customers. You earn enough and you don't have time for unknown comedy author. In my country, when someone needs help, at least you can politely respond to him/her with few words, no matter it is positive or negative. It takes just minutes to respond by email. Even if your company or you does not need comedy materials, you may forward me to someone else. Politeness requires that one. Politeness requires that I have to find this guy a job. Okay. Nobody is born famous. Do not forget. Anyway, I'm sorry that I wrote this email because of my sadness. Please don't consider it disrespectful behavior. Good luck. Okay, so I'm going to write this guy back with you listening. How about relax, Usul? I had every intention of writing you back, but I am kind of busy. Why am I writing this guy? Okay, maybe I should do this. I'm going to tell the guy I write my own material, and anyway, I don't know how to end this podcast. How about, yeah, we've been going for an hour, I think. I'm really looking forward to coming to London. That's going to be great. And man, there was some other things I wanted to talk about. I guess I'll have to make notes and do that on next week's episode. So I'm about to write Yusel back in Turkey. It's how weird to just demand that someone help you. Politeness demands it. Nobody can demand anything from anyone in life, and the very generous words and love that you guys have given me have helped me. It's funny. Like when my dad died, I thought all the things that used to annoy me about my father, I miss now that he's dead. Like he would always like make jokes and comments to waiters and waitresses, and like I feel that way about Ashna now too. Like the things that used to irritate me about her, now I miss that she's gone. And I guess that's, the withdrawal that you have when you're going through a breakup and everything. But, because I went through the tragedies of my dad and my sister dying, this isn't as painful as that, but it's still painful. And the way you guys have reached out to me and told me that you care about me, and the words and it has really, really given me strength. And I know happier, brighter days are ahead. It's put an extra crush into my comedy now. I'm really fucking killing, because it's like the only thing I have anymore, like it's always been. But I look forward to seeing each one of you in person in the near future, and I will be back next week. Anyway, that's it. How about let's end it with the words of Charles Bukowski. Yeah, I was also reading some Bukowski. So here's just this. We'll end the episode on this. This is from the book Burning in Water, Drowning in Flame, and this is from the poem The Tragedy of the Leaves. What was needed now was a good comedian, ancient style, a jester with jokes upon absurd pain. Pain is absurd because it exists, nothing more. Fantastic. Okay. Hey, I watched this brilliant movie called The Insult. I think it's an Iranian movie, or it's Lebanese, or it's something. Brilliant. There's a lot of cool shit to talk about. We'll make notes. We will get back here and have another great episode. I love you all very much. Long may you run. Long may you run. And Shalom Amigos y Amigas. Good night, Copenhagen. Good night, London, Dallas, Sacramento. Sacramento, where you at in this motherfucker? Tupac said that. He lived in my building.
Tom Rhodes, you're a funny man. Tom Rhodes, you're an international comedian. Tom Rhodes, karate kick, baby, oh yeah. Tom Rhodes, you're a groovy dude. You go all around the world, telling jokes to all of the people. You are an international comedian. You're funny to everybody in every single country in the world. Tom Rhodes, I like you very much. I think you're talented and very wonderful. Tom Rhodes, you're the best guy in the world. I wanna be your friend. You should call me sometime. Here is my phone number, 603-644-0048. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Tom Rhodes, you're an international comedic sensation. Tom Rhodes, I like to listen to your podcast. Tom Rhodes, you're the best man to ever walk on the earth.